Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there's one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at friskies.com or visit your local store.
If you thought goldenly breaded McDonald's chicken couldn't get more golden, think Golder, because new sweet and smoky special edition gold sauce is here. Made for your chicken favorites at participating McDonald's for a limited time.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you. Ooh. Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
All right, Duke fans, time for episode 751 of the DBR Podcast, the Duke Basketball Roundup. Jason Evans here with you. Hey, guess what? I'm joined by Donald Wine. Feels like it's been a bit since you and I got on here together, my friend. Why don't you tell the folks where you are and why you are where you are?
Well, before I do that, Jason, let me first start by thanking you and Scott for kind of tending to, Scott especially for playing the role of me a couple of times over the last few weeks. It's been a long couple of weeks for me. I lost my aunt, long story short, and so I had to do a couple of memorial services, one in Ann Arbor and one in Alabama. So it was kind of wild to be able to schedule these because for the better part of 2 weeks I was out of commission for that. She is the reason why one of the big reasons why I watch Michigan football, why I grew up as a Michigan fan. A lot of my Michigan joy for Michigan football comes from as a kid going to her house and her and my uncle taking us to football games and my parents taking us to football games. So when we were talking about Bryce Underwood when you were gone, that was kind of a tribute to her. So and the fact that during her second memorial service that Michigan put up 66 points, I know that she was helping with my uncle move the football a little bit. So really glad that you guys were able to do that in my absence, and I thank you for that. But I'm also here in the Gothic Wonderland. I'm back at our home, Jason, in Durham, North Carolina. I got here about 40 minutes ago. So we're just rolling in and we're doing this live. I'm down here for homecoming. I'm also receiving an alumni award this weekend, a Forever Duke Award for alums who know what that is. It's basically for volunteer service to the university. It's my second one, which I am very, very honored and also question the university's intelligence for giving it to me a second time, but really, really thankful for that. And I will be out and about. I'll be at the award ceremony on Saturday morning. I'll obviously be at the football game. I think they're honoring us at halftime. We'll be on the field. So look for me if you're at the football game and say hi.
I mean, Donald, you're glossing over it, dude. It's a big deal. All you do for Duke, and the fact that the Alumni Association is going to recognize you for a second time.
It's very cool. It's a great honor. I was kind of shocked when I got the email because it's just, as people know, being a part of Duke is what you and I do, right? We do this on a regular basis because we care about our school, we care about our teams, and so that's it. Saying for them to say thank you to me, I should say thank you to them for giving me this platform to be able to have this passion to talk about the game and the university that we love so much.
That's awesome, man. I am going to encourage you right now on our social media. You need to post on Saturday. You need to post a picture of what you're wearing, what your fit is, how you look, your face, all that other stuff. Folks, if you're at the football game, I want you coming out. It's homecoming. There should be a lot of you there. I want you coming out and finding Donald in the crowd.
So, Jason, the funny thing is because I'm, only 4 hours away, it was actually a very quick drive for me. I'm able to I don't have to pack light when I come to Durham. So I literally brought almost every stitch of Duke blue that I have. So I don't know what I'm wearing. I have a couple of football jersey options. I'm sure I'll go with one of those, but I have to at least look presentable for the award ceremony in the morning. So if you see me in the morning and I'm wearing a suit, or at least a sport coat, that's why. That's not usually my steez, but we got to look presentable.
I like it. It works. Speaking of the football game, let's spend a little bit of time previewing exactly what Duke has waiting for themselves on Saturday. It is a very big game against an NC State Wolfpack team. It's our first ACC contest. NC State is 3-0 on the season. They've got a couple impressive wins. They beat Virginia, and they beat East Carolina, which is, as those smaller schools go, a fairly good one. Then they beat Virginia, and then they beat Wake Forest. Now, the game against Virginia was a non-conference game, even though Virginia's in the ACC. It's just this weird quirk. I don't know, they just wanted to play each other, I guess. Okay, whatever. They couldn't find another non-conference opponent. So this is their this will be NC State's third time playing an ACC team, even though they've only technically played one ACC contest. But State is looking at this as 3-0 with 3 legit wins. They're looking at this as a big year for them. And Duke is, of course, reeling a little bit after consecutive losses to 2 good teams. Illinois and Tulane are both angling for the college football playoff. Illinois, certainly looks like a team that has a inside track for it, but Tulane is looking like they might be the best group of 5 or whatever they call that now. They change the name all the time. Mm-hmm. They may be the best one of those teams out there. And so, Duke's losses are nothing to be ashamed of, but when you already got 2 losses wrapped up, you gotta start to get things back on track. Dom, tell me what you're looking forward, not looking forward, but what are you looking for the most from NC State?
Well, from NC State, I think what they have shown in the first 3 games that we have not has been consistency on both sides of the football. And when you watch their games, they're very sound. They don't make a lot of mistakes, and they like to make sure that you make your mistakes and kind of give them opportunities to score. So I think when it comes to NC State, that is the biggest key. They have their weapons, and we could talk about all their weapons, ad nauseum, but I think the big thing for them is that they're just consistent. And because of that, we have to play football the way we know we can, mistake-free, which we have not, Jason, done over the last couple of weeks. We've made a ton of mistakes on all angles of the football, offense, defense, and even special teams. And you can't leave points on the table. I know you and Scott talked about that with the Tulane game, how many points were left on the table, and made that game a point where they kind of had to toss their way back into it late and really leave it late to try and, get an onside kick to make a miracle happen. I don't want to see that against NC State, because NC State, by all intents and purposes, are a better football team than Tulane. They are, as you mentioned, a team who thinks they are in the upper tier, the upper tier of the top 3-4 teams in the ACC, and they want to go for that ACC championship game. And as you mentioned, the playoffs. So this is for them a bump in the road, but also for them, it's a chance to take out a crosstown rival. And this is a huge game. The fact that it's homecoming is kind of strategic, Jason, right? Last year it was UNC, and is kind of Duke's way to kind of get more tickets into the hands of alums that are coming back to town and make it a big deal against these, in region rivals that Wake Forest or NC State or UNC. But I think for Duke, they have to really hone in on playing mistake-free football. Last year, the few games that we got, that we lost, that SMU game comes to mind, they made a ton of mistakes and they couldn't overcome them. This is not a team that can overcome mistakes and win going away easy. They want to be able to play mistake-free football. When we did that last year, when we did that, even against Elon, the times we played, fairly clean football, we were able to win fairly easily. So that's what I'm looking for from both sides of the football. But really, Jason, I think this is a big test because we just got to get out of this funk. 2 in a row, you don't want to make it 3. You want to enter the ACC portion of the schedule and say, okay, we took our lumps, we've learned our lessons, and now we're back to playing Duke football.
Your focus on the mistakes. It's impossible to be a Duke fan to watch this football team play, the Duke football team, and not say, yeah, this is a team that has made a ton of mistakes. And you are dead right that NC State has not. I could be wrong. Look, it's not like I've watched a lot of NC State football so far this year, but from looking at their box scores, it appears to me they haven't fumbled the ball a single time. Not even lost a fumble, but they haven't even fumbled, period. All season long. They've had 1 interception by their quarterback, CJ Bailey, who is otherwise a guy who is just great at doing the smart, efficient thing. He's completing more than 70% of his passes. Last year, as a freshman at NC State, and remember, he played like the back half of the season because their quarterback quit early. It was a crazy situation they had. But anyway, CJ Bailey took over at quarterback for NC State last year and completed 65% of his passes a year ago. This is a guy who's going to find open receivers. He may not go for, big home run kind of plays as much, but he's a dude who's going to complete passes. He's just going to keep the chains moving 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 yards. That's where he lives. And they're really, really good at being efficient, at not making mistakes. And then you compare that to Duke. I mean, Duke's got 7 fumbles from the year. We've lost 5 of them. We've thrown 2 interceptions, and we're yet to intercept a single pass. I mean, NC State's a team that has a 2-to-1, or I think it's better than 2-to-1 turnover ratio per game for them. Duke, we're at what is it? 5, 6, 7. We're 7-to-1 against. That's really bad in terms of turnovers. I mentioned that CJ Bailey is a super accurate passer. He's also quite willing to run with the ball. He's got 21 carries through 3 games. He had a game just the other day where he, I think the Virginia game, he had 2 touchdowns on the ground rushing the ball in that game. So you need to watch out for him using his legs. Speaking of rushing, they have their lead running back. Donald, this is one of the best names you're going to hear. Hollywood.
I was going to say all American. Arguably one of the, if you talk about Hall of Fame, college football Hall of Fame for names, it's Hollywood Smothers.
Hollywood Smothers. By the way, he's just 5'11", 195, but he's super quick. He's one of these guys that you think you're about to tackle him and suddenly you're tackling air because he's pivoted on you. He averages better than 6 yards per rush. He had 140 yards the other day. Was it against? I looked at the Wake and the Virginia game. Those 2 games have run together in my head. In any event, he's their primary rushing attack, and Duke's going to have to pay attention to him. This is a very tough opponent we've got here in NC State, and Duke has been really good on offense this year. There was a poster on the DBR boards, on the DBR forum, who did a deep dive into some of the stats. I just want to repeat a few of them so folks can hear this. If you just put aside the Elon game, Elon's a smaller opponent, not expected to be, it was more competitive than we expected, but put aside the stats from that game and just consider the games against Illinois and Tulane. Duke put up more than 430 yards of offense in those 2 games on average. Our passing attack, we're getting 350 plus yards per game this year. 10th best passing attack in the country. Duke's getting more than 5 yards per carry when we rush the ball, averaging 125 rushing yards per game. All season long, Duke has only punted the ball 3 times. Now, part of that is we've turned it over way too much, but only 3 punts in 3 games. But man, the Duke defense just is not where it has been the past couple years. We're giving up well over 400 yards per game, 425 yards on average to Tulane and Illinois. Teams are getting more than 6 yards per play. Donald, if a team gets 6 yards per play against you, you're not going to stop them from getting a first down very often, are you?
That's correct.
Teams are averaging more than 9 yards per pass attempt through the air. 9 yards per pass attempt? Man, ouch. Duke has just got it. We got to figure out a way to slow teams down, and we got to get some turnovers. For Duke to have one turnover through the first 3 games on defense. This game, if Duke has another game where we're like 0 or maybe 1 turnover, it's just going to be hard to beat NC State because NC State is so efficient.
You know, Jason, I'm a Lions fan, and Amon-Ra St. Brown has a podcast with his brother. And on his latest podcast, he was talking about the win against Chicago, and he said, we got back to playing what we like to do, what is called complementary football. And what complementary football means by his stats is like, if your defense is not going to pitch shutouts every game. It's a great goal, but it's not going to happen. You're also not going to score 80 points a game. You're not going to get 500 yards, rushing or passing per game. There's going to be moments where you have to complement what the other team is doing. So if the other team gets a field goal, you get a field goal. If they score a touchdown, you got to come right back and score a touchdown and make it where the momentum stays in your possession. That is what we have not done over these last couple of games. We had a couple of moments where we said, okay, if we can get a stop here, man, that'd be great. We can get our offense back on the field and they'll have that momentum and they'll go down and they'll score points and we're right back in this ball game. And we weren't able to do that. We weren't able to get get them off the field on 4th down. We weren't able to convert on a 3rd down on offense and made it where we had to punt. Or again, as you mentioned last week, we have to attempt a field goal and we don't come away with any points. We are not playing complementary football. And if we are able to do that, that keeps us in all these games. And honestly, Jason, the one thing you want is to be in a position in the 4th quarter where you can go win it. Yeah, there's some games where you're going to blow out your opponent, and we love that. But it's not going to be every game. You want it where this team, when they get down to the 4th quarter, the final 5 minutes, and they have the football, and they know they need to score a touchdown to win or score or hold the other team to win, that they're able to do that. And right now, we have not figured that out yet. It's going to take some time, but this team, NC State, is playing complementary football. And so you kind of have to match what they're doing. Otherwise, they're going to have the momentum the whole game.
Last couple of things I wanted to mention. One is, and these are both regarding Duke. One is, as I said the other day, I am really hoping we see more of Nate Shepherd. That dude just, for a true freshman running back, that dude looks really, really good. I want him to get the ball more than the 5, 6, 7, 8 times we've been getting him the ball. Put that guy in the teens, at least, maybe high teens in terms of touches in this game. I think you'll see really, really good things. And the other thing is, God, Donald, our inability to get touchdowns in the red zone. The number of field goals, through 3 games, Todd Polino has lined up to attempt 9 field goals. If Duke was getting a ton of touchdowns in addition to field goals, that'd be great. But touchdowns aren't really there that much either. Duke's scoring but I feel like we're still leaving a lot of points on the board with both field goal attempts that haven't been successful and just going for field goals rather than getting touchdowns. Got to find ways to be more creative when we get in the red zone.
Yeah, I think the balance is off too, right? Like you and Scott mentioned the fact that Darian Mintz, I believe, threw the ball 51 times last week. Now, There's a reason for that. It's because we were down quite a bit, especially in the second half. And to do that, it's hard to hand the ball off to you guys, especially when time is a factor. You want to try and throw the ball downfield and get as many yards as possible in spurts. We're not able to do that every single game because, again, Darian Mintz is great, but when teams are able to figure out that you're going to be passing every single play, chances are it's going to catch up to you. And then teams are going to be able to gamble on defense and go for picks and go for pick sixes. I think the idea, and also your line has to really be able to cover that too and withstand that. Establishing the run game early is key. It was something that we didn't get to do a lot last year, but you remember the times that we did have that. Star Thomas, those few games where Star Thomas went off. Yeah. We were able to win football games pretty easily because the other team had no answer, and it opened a lot of the field for our wide receivers to be able to do some damage. So that's what we need to do. And I think, like you said, if we have opportunities to get points, we need to get those points, whether it's 3 or 7 or even 8. Like, we need to take those opportunities and get those points because once teams figure out they're going to shut the door on us, we would wish we had those points and we were able to nurse a comfortable lead as opposed to try and catch up.
All right, we're going to take a quick break now. On the other side, a little bit of basketball stuff to tell you about. Are you able to dribble a basketball? Because if you can meet the entire Duke basketball team. We'll tell you about it in just a moment.
Between busy schedules and summer plans, sometimes all I've got is a couple minutes. Factor helps me eat smarter with tasty, chef-prepped meals that are dietitian approved and delivered right to my door. And now, with more than 65 weekly meals made for how I live and what I like to eat, I've got even more ways to fit in a real meal wherever the day takes me.
Yeah, that's right, Donald. Not only are they quick to heat up, but now you have a wider selection of meal options, including premium seafood meals like salmon and shrimp at no extra cost. And for the first time, try Asian-inspired meals with bold flavors from China, Thailand, and more. It's responding to what Factor members wanted. That's why 97% of customers say Factor has helped them to live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter what your routine is.
So eat smart at factormeals.com/DukeBB50off. Use that code DukeBB50off to get 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code DukeBB50off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me, serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
This episode is presented by State Farm. Having insurance isn't the same as having State Farm. It's like expecting the leadership of a team captain on the football field, but getting a sea captain. You wouldn't settle for just anything for your team. Shouldn't it be the same for your insurance? So don't settle for just any insurance when you can go with a leader. State Farm. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
All right, Donald, we're back from the break, and we have some explaining to do. Last year at this time, you and I were talking incessantly about the Dribble for Victory event that was happening in Durham. I was going to be up in Durham for this event. It is a wonderful opportunity to raise money for the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation, connected to Dick Vitale and the V Foundation. This is an incredibly important cause that is out there. And we put a lot of time on this podcast and effort in terms of me getting there in supporting the effort a year ago. And we've had some folks write to us and ask us about this year. Duke has just announced that Duke will be again participating in the Dribble for Victory over Cancer. It will be on October 4th, on Saturday, the day after Countdown to Craziness. But unfortunately, Donald, neither you nor I can make our schedules work to be there. So we are still, folks, we're going to encourage all of you. Go out there and make a donation if you want to. It is a very, very wonderful cause. But we're not doing the same thing we were last year where we were organizing our own team and trying to raise money on behalf of the podcast. It just doesn't quite work this year for us to do that. I will say also that the Dribble for Victory is a little different this year. Last year they had a whole tier of different prizes, so to speak, that you could get. And after the event was over, you were able to go in and watch a Duke practice. I will freely admit one of the major reasons that I came up for the event was I was eager for a chance to watch the team practice and get some impressions from that event. They're not doing that this year because Cameron's going to be busy that afternoon. After the Dribble for Victory is over, there's a volleyball match. The Duke women are taking on North Carolina in volleyball, and so they're opening up the gym to all the Dribble for Victory participants to come in and cheer on Duke over North Carolina. Always a great thing that you can do. No problem at all with that. But it's just a slightly different event than it was last year. They do say, and I want to note this, if you make a donation of $1,000 or more, which is a big donation, but that's a special gift you're giving to this organization fighting childhood cancer. If you make a $1,000 donation, you will earn an opportunity to attend an exclusive men's basketball practice at a later date. They haven't said when that will be, but my bet is that's going to be a much smaller event, and they're probably going to treat you right because $1,000 is a serious donation to this important cause. So have that out there as something you think you might want to do. Donald, your thoughts on Dribble for Victory this year?
Yeah, well, first of all, I know we are both sad that we're not able to make it. For me, I'll just say for me, jury duty got me. And so I have to be made available for jury duty, and I can't make any trips on that weekend because I have to report for jury duty, which is important. But it also means I got to stay put in DC for that particular weekend. And so I'm not able to make it. I know Jason has some family events going at the same time. But again, I'm glad, Jason, that you brought this up because we are happy to support in different ways, even if it's not you or I physically being present. We would love if everyone continue to show their support for this event. If you're in town and you're able to make it, especially if you're there for Countdown to Craziness, definitely do that. Take advantage of that. I know Jason could not stop talking about how great of an event it was last year. And I'm sure it's going to be equally as fun this year to, once again, support a great cause, but also get to, mix and mingle and rub shoulders, or maybe you may rub like their elbow of the basketball team because they're a little tall with everyone being 6'4" or taller. So really, really appreciate the fact that they're doing this again this year. Hopefully they can do this again on an annual basis, and Jason and I will figure out a way to make it next year.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, one last really quick note, because I've had a couple people ask me about this. They're like, why hasn't Duke gotten any recruits so far? The class of 2026, the basketball class of 2026, there's just nothing happening. There was a very good article written this week over on the CBS Sportsline about the fact that there's just high school recruiting has gone into the freezer right now. I believe the number is only 6 of the top 50 prospects have committed so far. And here we are in mid-September, only 6 out of the top 50. And the reason for that is very simple. Everyone's still trying to figure out NIL. Donald, you and I have talked extensively on this show, on this program, about the fact that the House settlement, brought this whole new NIL clearinghouse. It opened up the way for schools to actively pay their players, but they have to pay football and basketball and other sports. And it's, the reality is, frankly, no one has completely figured out exactly what their budgets are going to be like. No one's completely figured out how much the outside entities, the collectives, the boosters are going to be able to contribute. And as a result, when coaches go out and they talk to kids about, hey, you should come here, and the kid quite reasonably asks, well, how much can you pay me? Which is a question that I think is very legitimate. The coaches are like, well, we're just not sure yet. We just don't know all the details yet. But why don't you commit now and we'll figure that out later? And the kids are like, well, maybe I'll wait. And as a result, recruiting has there's just very little activity in terms of kids making commitments.
Jason, I think also in a weird way, the transfer portal also affects this, and the changes to the transfer portal, namely not even in the basketball side, on the football side. I know you saw the other day that they have eliminated the spring window, transfer portal window for football, and they are talking about reorganizing the main window, which currently starts at the end of the conference title seasons and extends throughout the bowl season, to make it where it starts in January after much of the bowl season has concluded. I think I think that's
just
a much
January
better idea.
2nd. They're saying January 2nd to 11th, I believe, would be the entire duration.
They were talking
when you could enter.
They were talking about that. they are talking about extending it because that part was tabled until next month. Because I think they had different rules on if you made it to the semifinal of the playoff or the final of the playoff, how long they would extend.
Yeah.
And so most people are saying, why don't you just make the window through 5 days after the tournament or after the playoff is over, instead of having it for just a couple of teams. So in essence, they're still working out the details of that. But one thing is for sure is that January window will affect the pot of money that is likely available for some of these schools for every other sport, including men's basketball. So it's not where, Duke has to worry, and sure, Duke, like other schools have multiple collectives, but they still have to worry about the entire pie. And football has a part of that. All these other transfer portals being altered as part of that. And honestly, we don't know if the transfer portal dates are going to remain the same for basketball because they're constantly evolving that as well. And it seems that a lot of these recruits are saying, let me wait until the transfer portal opens. I see where people are going and then commit, as opposed to commit in October or November and then maybe have to decommit later on because a team has, air quote, recruited over me through the transfer portal. So I think it's a lot to work out. And you mentioned when Jon Scheyer was on the show, he mentioned that that's something that they kind of have to deal with year round. And it's a constant thing they are discussing as a crew, as a coaching staff. And I'm sure Nina King is also involved in those conversations, and the NIL people at Duke. They are all discussing this as well because it is an evolving thing, and you can't commit to something today because it seems like it'll change tomorrow. We even talked about the house settlement, Jason, and as we were discussing that on the episode, everything changed in the span of a second. So it's very quick on how this thing is moving. So I think a lot of recruits are doing what they should be doing right now, waiting and seeing like the rest of us.
Yeah. Although they're still pursuing things and figuring out, what school I'm most interested in. Speaking of that, Bryson Howard, I think we've mentioned him on this show before. Bryson Howard, Josh Howard, Wake Forest star Josh Howard's son. Josh Howard had a long, lucrative NBA career, so it's possible that Bryson Howard isn't as focused on NIL maybe as some other guys. He definitely, wants to get what he's worth, but maximizing his dollars may not be quite as important to him because his father made millions and millions of dollars in the NBA. Bryson Howard will be at Duke this weekend at the NC. Donald, if you're at the NC State game and you see a guy who's like 6'5" and looks like he could play some hoops.
Of course he's 6'5". Everyone on the team is 6'5". That's all we recruit nowadays.
But if you don't recognize him as a current player, it could be Bryson Howard, who is one of the best shooters in the class. Like his dad, he's a offensive dynamo. So be on the lookout for that. I've also heard lately that Duke has gotten very involved with a point guard in the class, a kid named Daron Ripley. Out of Blair Academy in New Jersey. Duke has gotten plenty of kids from Blair Academy in the past. That is the school that has been good to Duke. We talk about the fact that the PVI, Paul VI, has been very good to Duke over the years, and Jordan Smith from PVI is still probably the number one recruit on Duke's board, and most people think that Jordan Smith is probably coming in, but Blair is up there as another one that Duke has recruited very, very well from. So those are just some of the names that I've been hearing lately. Daron Ripley, Bryson Howard, Jordan Smith. I don't know which one's going to become the first one to commit to. I don't know if Duke's going to get any of them or all of them. It's just a crazy time in high school recruiting right now.
I think the key thing through all of this, Jason, is everyone be patient. Like, don't get restless because if we hit October and nobody's really talked about committing or anything. This is, again, something that they're all trying to figure out things. It is hard for Duke and other schools to project to them like, yeah, this guy might be leaving or this guy might be going pro. You may have a couple of ideas, but still you may have guys who stick around. Like, we didn't think we were going to, send 5 guys to the NBA and everybody else stayed, right? In the main rotation. That probably wasn't something that they expected to do, but that happened. So it's very clear that the coaching staff is trying to feel this out. And honestly, as you mentioned, we haven't even started the actual fall practices yet. So teams do not know who is who, who's starting, who's going to be coming off the bench, who's going to be maybe redshirting or being primed for a role next year, and who might be out the door. Nobody knows all this yet. I don't think even these players do at this point. So it's just best to wait and see and just to be patient. And as news comes, it'll probably come very quickly because it feels like when recruiting does start to hit high gear, it will hit high gear very, very fast.
I will freely tell you, if I was the parent, the advisor, or whatever, the coach of a top high school recruit, a kid who I knew could find a good landing space no matter what, one of these top 50 or so kids, I would say to him, you should not commit until April. That you need to wait and see what's happening with schools in terms of who's turning pro, who's sticking around, who's going in the portal, and who's not. Donald, we need to look no further than your friend Caden Lewis, who was Duke recruited him. He ended up picking Kentucky. Everything looked great there, and then Kentucky went in the portal and grabbed Jalen Lowe and a couple other point guards, and the Caden went, wait a second, suddenly you've recruited over me. I haven't even stepped foot on campus yet. And so Caden went off to Villanova. By the way, I'm hearing really great things about him. He was just picked as one of the 10 under the radar freshmen to watch in the country. People are going to be hearing about Caden Lewis and what he's going to do at Villanova. But he had to switch his school, in April. And I think
he wasn't the only one either. He wasn't the only one that decommitted to go somewhere else. Yeah.
I was using him as an example, not as an outlier. He is a very common scenario. I think it is easy for all of us who follow recruiting to say oh wait, these guys, they're taking so long to make their decision. Donald, most of the high school seniors this year will pick their school in April or May.
April. Yep. I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
That's just when it happens. And we're so used to high school players doing it over the summer before their senior year or the fall right before their senior year. Like I said, I would advise kids, wait, there's no reason to do it right now.
To bring it full circle, Jason, me personally, I had a full scholarship to Michigan in October or November. I decommitted to go to Duke because Duke accepted me in April. So you're going to see, it's just like you or I who get into schools in April and you make these decisions and go down to Blue Devil days, if they still have Blue Devil days and that sort of thing. It is something where these players are kind of seeing it makes sense both financially and, again, the best fit and all that. It makes sense to wait. And so these guys are going to wait. And so that means we have to as well. And again, patience, because Duke is still going to be Duke. We're still going to get a lot of these recruits. It just may take some time.
Exactly. All right, with that, we're going to wrap it up here, latest edition of the Duke Basketball Roundup. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back at you this weekend and Donald's going to go say firsthand, a from the stands view of the game over NC State and anything else he saw and learned while he was on campus. Until then, he's Donald in Durham. I'm Jason in Atlanta. Here's the Duke band playing us out and taking us home.
This episode is brought to you by ESPN. Catch the first WWE Premium Live event on ESPN, WrestlePalooza, live on Saturday, September 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be an epic night in Indianapolis, featuring some of the biggest WWE superstars. This event is only on ESPN, so go to stream.espn.com and sign up to the ESPN app today for your all-access pass to WrestlePalooza and all WWE Premium Live events.